Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Already?
Yeah,
Dang.
we were already...
Mr. Mary Sunshine, who are you and what did you do with Dan?
No, you think this is going to be a positive thing. That's the funny part here. It's like, we're already wondering,
the other mid-season form.
Yeah, we're already talking about, people are questioning, what Maurice Harkless' impact was in the preseason game. And yes, that's the joke. He wasn't playing. I had multiple people were like, where was Harkless? And I was like, could you tell?
It was one of those games.
I mean, but Dame did his thing. The bench came in and it was a mixed bag. People are questioning whether or not Meyers Leonard is for real. I mean, it felt like at the end of that
like we
game,
haven't missed a beat.
I was like, wow, we've hit like every trope in the first preseason game. Like this is really happening. Okay, sure,
tell me. We're already at we got to get off to a really great start because that's the other thing that always comes up every time. You haven't touched on that yet.
We didn't have a Raptors bench player go off, so that was a thing, and people were questioning Jake Layman starting over insert player here with Maurice Harkless out. So yeah, so
sweet Jake.
We're arguing about rotations.
So have you already started recording?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hey, welcome to the Blazers Edge podcast. It's Tara and Dan, and we are getting off to an awesome start, just like the Blazers are going to this season, just like Terry Stott said on Media Day. We're getting off to a great start. I so want to talk about Jake Layman. There's so much to talk about. Let's just start from the beginning with Media Day. Right before we hopped on, we were trying to figure out how long ago Media Day was, and you were sure it was 2 weeks ago, and I was sure it was a week ago. I think we've agreed that it was actually a week ago.
Yeah, just all blending together already, and it's like this is weird. I love it, but it's weird.
Yeah. Well, let's start with your impressions from Media Day. Now, did you go? You didn't go this year.
No,
right?
No.
You watched it a live stream, probably.
Yes. I was multitasking all over the place that day, so I did not go.
So, anything? What stood out to you about Media Day?
Oh, I don't know. The fact that Maurice Harkless shut everything down throughout the summer and he's still not ready to go 6 months later. Like they just casually just slipped that one in. I think it was Casey that asked the question to just kind of keep things rolling. And Mo's like, oh yeah, no, I shut it down during the summer. And you could just, like, immediately you could just kind of sense the spidey sense just going off like, what the hell did he just say? Did he just say he shut it down? He hit him.
Yeah.
What?
I believe I texted you the minute he said it. I was like, wait, did we know this?
Yeah, no, there was a chain of text messages that just came through. Like, everybody in Blazerland, like, what the actual hell? Like, why have, like, Terry and Neal just kind of suddenly dropped that, too. Like, it was just like, whoa. Like, that's not some just casual thing. Like, I was talking to a couple guys on Media Row tonight at Fanfest, and everybody kind of had the same consensus of, like, there's no such thing as a minor knee procedure. As somebody who has, like, literally more than a half dozen of them, I can confirm that. But
right.
With Harkless, it was supposed to be a minor procedure that he came back from, and while there's some discomfort, with, when it was all quiet on the Western Front, everybody assumes Harkless is back at 100%. Blazers starting lineup is going to roll out there on game one, right?
Right. Well, one of the things that we heard is that, and I don't know if he said it or if people in Harkless's camp said it or if it was just this, rumor. So maybe you can clarify that he was maybe rushed back in order to make it for those last two playoff games. Is that something that you've heard?
From what I understand is that he's supposed to be ready for game one of the regular season, opening night against the Lakers, which obviously will be huge with the lineup that they may potentially run out.
But I mean back at the end of last season.
Oh, everything I heard at that point in time was there was just minor discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
But everything was going to be good after that. So, the fact that he had to shut it down, stop all basketball activities for 6 weeks, that's no small thing. And so that's what has me I am not concern trolling at this point. I'm not at that level. But if you want to know, if my eyebrows were raised and whoa, this is not optimal. The Blazers are talking about wanting to get off to a great start. They have a brutal schedule to start the season. And you may not have the guy that everybody looks at is the glue guy.
Wait. Maurice Harkless is now the glue guy?
A lot of people want to say that he's the one that
Where did that come from?
Hey, I've heard this said more times than I can count this summer, and I'm at the point where okay, you're right. In a sense, if you believe that glue guy, that he's the guy that has to find ways to score without having plays drawn up for him. He's going to make the hustle play. He's going to make the backdoor cut. He's going to get out in transition. Because Dame's going to get his. CJ's going to get his. Nurkic is going to get his opportunities. And I think the pecking order from there is going to be probably Seth, Turner, Aminu?
Okay, I have a completely different definition of glue guy. I thought glue guy was the person who holds everything together, who might not be the leader of the team, but without whom things start to fall apart. And, so that's, to me, that's your Ed Davis. That's your...
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Aminu, Aminu would be a great example of a glue guy for them right now because he's not putting up all of the hot stats. He's not the person who drives everything, but without him, things could fall apart.
I think that's who I think of when I think of a glue guy. Harkless, though. That's the thing. Good Harkless, and I hate this whole good Harkless, bad Harkless thing, mostly because it's true. But good Harkless is exactly what the Blazers need. They need easy points in transition. They need versatile defense that can cover 1 through 4. They need a corner 3-point shooter. They need a hustle guy. They need a guy that can generate offense on his own outside of the playbook. I don't think the Blazers necessarily want to have Maurice Harkless be the glue guy because he hasn't been consistent most of his career. But I would argue that the Blazers, when he is good and he is that glue guy, then they're the best version of the team that they can be, right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess I can go with that. Again, he's not the first person I think of when I say glue guy, but when you explain it, he's the person who, if he's playing his very best, then the Blazers are the best version of themselves. Yeah, I can kind of go along. I can kind of go with that. But let's get back to what else may have stood out to you on Media Day. One thing that I really liked, when they talked to Damian Lillard and they asked him about what he had been up to this summer, I really liked that his answer was, I stayed still. And I just thought, I love the way... I really love the way that he, talked about just sticking close to home. Because, he still, did his trip. He still did a lot of stuff. And he obviously entertained us all with his funny workout video. But, like you said, rest is really critical for a guy his age. And I think, he's got time to really think about what happened last season, where they're going, how they're going to get there, and just spend some time just visualizing what this year is going to look like. Because I think it's going to be, we've seen their physical talents pretty much reach the height that, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe they all have more heights that they can reach, but we've seen them reach their physical we've seen them attain their physical abilities, and I think they have to add the mental component on top of it now. And he's had a lot of time to reflect on how he's going to do it for himself and how he can bring the rest of the team along. Anyway, I just really liked how he phrased that.
If you were going to ask me to break down Dame's part of Media Day, he is fully embraced dad mode.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, his little pictures of his little baby on Instagram are so cute.
But I mean, just like,
you gotta admit.
Oh yeah, they are. I mean, it's a baby Dame. I mean, come on. But I mean, just listening to him talk, he sounds like dad. Like you can tell that he has a kid. You can like the maturation process of the past year, like the way he's talking about not just life but basketball. He's kind of like the things he's taking from life are coming to basketball. Like his perspective is evolved. Like that stuff.
Like be specific, because I feel like he's always kind of been like that.
I think he's always been on top of things, but just the way he talks about like how he handles social media, how he works with the young guys, how he takes guys under his wing, his perspective on the season, his the reflecting on last season, taking the good with the bad, and it wasn't just platitudes. Like the way he was talking about it. Like there are some guys that. They're just paying it lip service because that's what they have to do. But he was taking it piece by piece and breaking it down in I don't want to say like a responsible way because he's always been responsible. But there was just something fatherly about it. When I listened to him, I'm like, yeah, you can tell this guy's had a kid now. Like that's what I just kept taking from it.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that he's always sounded the way that he sounded. He's always been very measured in his approach to the other guys. He's always been, on the one hand complimentary, and on the other hand he's been, trying to inspire them by his own actions and his own activities and like by being an example. I don't know. I felt like he was just doing what Dame always does, and why we've been so lucky to have him as a franchise for so long, and why we're so lucky that he appears to want to stay.
Yeah. The storyline news, I think, that came from both Dame and CJ was again talking about loyalty and staying with the team.
I don't know why players do that. I mean, I get it, but like, haven't we seen this happen enough throughout the league that you think that they would just be cautious about doing that?
We had this debate on Blazers Outsiders. Joe and Shane are staunchly in opposition to what I believe here, and that is I don't think there's anything to gain from it.
No,
like Kyrie saying he wanted to stay in Cleveland, and then
you can only lose because people will throw it back in your face. Like making promises is just so scary anymore, especially this day and age where everyone's going to drag it out. Not even just that. Like
player movements are different now than it was. Like in the 80s, saying you wanted to be a lifer with a team, that's okay because one, it was kind of expected because of the way free agency was done. But two, like that was how you built a brand. With the social media coming further and further into the world, you can build your brand without like staying loyal. And because player movement's such an accepted thing at this point in time, nobody really cares. I know that sounds harsh, but like if Dirk's probably going to be the last one to finish his career with one team, like to be a legendary superstar and play 20 years for one team. Like that's probably it. Mm-hmm. Just because of the way free agency is, the way salary is structured. Like I don't begrudge guys who give 12 years to a franchise and then decide, they want to play for money, or they want to play closer to family, or they want to play in a warmer climate or a tax-free zone. Like there's a million reasons to want to go play somewhere else. And I'm not just talking about Portland. I'm talking about any market. So like, I just don't understand what there is to gain from saying like, I'm going to be a lifer. And so I think Dame and CJ both took the right way, and like they qualified it with, it's still a business.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I'm glad that they did qualify what they said. They were like, right now I'm happy. I'm happy here right now, mm-hmm. but things change, and they at least threw that caveat in. I really appreciated. How about what Stotts was talking about? Because how I love it when he says very precisely what they're going to be working on, and he addressed the question that we've all been asking ourselves about why were the Blazers so far down the line in assists last year? And he addressed it by saying that they were going to look at shooting less off the dribble. and better shooting inside and outside. I like that he was talking about that. Do you think that is really going to show itself up? Do you think that the Blazers are really going to be adding some new things to their arsenal? And maybe we could talk about some of the things that came out of training camp and even the first preseason game that we saw earlier this week.
Yeah, I mean, he said this, and then he backed it up and took one of his sets that he originally put in with the team when he first got here 7 years ago out of the playbook.
And which set was that?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's probably one of their pin downs off of the flow offense, because it looks like they were.
Okay, so he just said I took one out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just from watching the preseason game. That's the one that I'm assuming.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that's the one that I'm assuming because I saw a little bit less of that, and I saw a little more emphasis on other guys outside of Dame and CJ coming off that extended ball movement off the wing. I'm going to talk to Dane Delgado because he's been watching it much more closely than I have, because he's breaking down the actual plays as we go through preseason into the season as part of his new web series. So hoping to talk to him and kind of go over some things and make sure I'm lined up on the same level. But the Blazers had 9 assists on their first 11 made shots in the first preseason game. So emphasis on ball movement. There were a few other wrinkles to the playbook. For anybody that's not following Dane already, Dane highlighted some of them, as did I, on Twitter during the game.
Such as?
Just little things that if you're not paying, like if you don't know the Blazers trail or the Blazers playbook, you wouldn't really notice. But just little wrinkles of where guys are popping up, timed split cuts. I joked that Aminu on the dribble drive out of the DHO was a new wrinkle, but I think that was just Aminu kind of experimenting in the preseason, because he came out of the DHO and took it to the rim twice and tried to create off the dribble, which is not something we obviously see from Aminu all that often.
He did it occasionally last year. Okay. Sometimes I think maybe not in a planned.
Yeah, back-to-back possessions in a preseason game is more than we see regularly. So it was one of those things where it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but maybe it's something that Aminu wanted to add to his game, because at this point in his career, I think those are the only real things, tangible things that he can add to his game and expect to see, growth out of.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we saw from some of the individual players in the preseason game. I was able to watch it, but on a very small, very fuzzy view. So I didn't catch as much as I had hoped I had been able to, but I did catch that there was a lot more player movement in the beginning. I worry sometimes that about assists for just the sake of saying that they have more assists. So I'm hoping that what the passing and everything looked like it was part of a plan and not just like, oh no, we told everybody we were going to pass the ball around more, so here we are passing the ball around more. What did you think about that?
I mean, there were times where I still saw CJ pound the ball a little bit. Wade, especially with that kind of last group, which is to be expected because they're not playing together a whole ton, was definitely a little poundy with the ball. But I thought the ball was moving quicker. It looked like Turner was trying to find that happy medium between going to the rim and creating for others. Not quite there yet.
It seemed like every time I looked up, he was driving going to the hoop. And I was like, what are you doing? I thought he was supposed to be assisting, although he actually did end up with more assists than anybody else. There was one Turner drive that featured a spin.
The spin moving between two defenders, finished with the left hand. Yeah, that was something, because
that was scary.
he spun past the first defender, and it took him wide, or it looked like it was going to take him wide, and then he kind of carried the spin a little bit further and inside the other defender and past him, and I was like, oh, okay.
That looked to me like he put himself in the spin move. Yeah. Like, whoa.
Put himself in the spin cycle and took one too many spins. Like, whoa, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but other than that, guys were looking aggressive. The others outside of Damian and CJ were looking really aggressive. Nurkic was operating in the high post a little bit more, and they were running cuts off of that. So that was a new wrinkle. So Nurkic coming up, receiving the ball. And Nurkic has got a nice little passing game. I mean, he's not Sabonis, but he sees the floor pretty well, and he's willing to take some chances, which sometimes he shouldn't be. But he is willing to take some chances. I think that Stotts, the two things that stood out, or actually three things that stood out for me from the preseason game in general, like points that they emphasized at Media Day, were they wanted to be more aggressive defensively, and it felt like they were trying to get both on-ball pressure as well as pressure in the passing lanes. I think they only generated four steals. But
yeah, last year they were not big generators, and I don't think they have been.
No.
They haven't been big generators of steals. They try more to force people into bad shots than to force people into turnovers. I think, right? Yeah. Would that be a way you would characterize their defense?
That's a good way to put it. And I don't think any addition of the personnel here is going to change that. But putting ball pressure, putting pressure on, like Nurkic came out, especially early on in the game. I don't know if he was just jacked at the play or if it's something that they're legitimately trying. And he was defending much higher in the pick and roll coverage than I've seen in quite some time.
So he was coming up higher. He was not dropping closer to the basket. Is that what you're saying?
So on the pick and roll, there was two particular plays on the left wing. It looked like Nurkic was almost even, almost hedging on the pick and roll, putting pressure on Ibaka outside. This also kind of backfired in a sense because he got caught fouling a jump shooter. Fouling Ibaka at the 3-point line. So
it felt like there were a lot of fouls, but maybe that's just because
there was a metric ton of fouls.
Game.
There were 76 fouls.
Okay.
It was absurd. I was talking to Travis Demers, who was calling the game, covering for Wheels while he's out, and he was like, man, that was a blast, but they did not make it easy on me tonight, talking they being the officials. He's like, it's really hard to get into a flow of the game, and, when you're trying to be that guy, and the refs are just blowing whistles literally almost to a minute. So that's when you're a team of veterans who's working on being more aggressive as on defense, how do you make sure you're being cautious about not fouling too much? I mean, because these guys, most of them are pretty experienced. I mean, obviously, Zach Collins has only got 1 year under his belt, but like Nurkic has been around now for a while. Aminu has been around. He's not making stupid fouls. But how do you increase your aggression at the same time being careful about not committing too many fouls? That's the tricky part because you have to kind of count on reputation. And when the refs are anticipating a team being really aggressive, take Memphis, for example, for years, they got away with murder because they were so aggressive and the refs weren't going to call everything. In the Blazers, they may rack up some fouls, and that may deter them from wanting to be so aggressive because they don't have the reputation of being aggressive. And now, I'm not saying that they're the bad boys or that they're the grit and grind Grizzlies, but putting ball pressure on, I think, is a good thing. I think getting in the passing lanes is a little iffy because it can come back to bite you. But really, it's just all about how hard you're willing to work. And that's not like they're not willing to work thing. It's just, it's an extra gear. Like there are very, 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 very few guys in the NBA who can genuinely give it to you all night long on both ends of the floor. Like Kawhi Leonard's one of those guys. I
was just going to ask what you thought about Kawhi's debut in our Raptors uniform.
He shot like crap, but physically he's fine, which leads me to believe that he just trolled the living hell out of the Spurs.
Can you imagine being gutsy enough to do that?
Things must have been so toxic between his camp and the Spurs because he looked absolutely fine, 100%. Yeah. So, and I don't believe he just suddenly got better. We're talking about a guy basically missing the entire season and shutting it down. So, yeah, I tend to believe that the Spurs were probably right in saying he needed to get his butt back because he looked pretty darn healthy, which sucks because I really like Kawhi, and seeing that kind of play out now, it makes the big bad Spurs look like the good guys here. And
I'm just so excited we only have to see him twice a year now.
Oh God, yeah. I think the entire Western Conference is thrilled about
Yeah. Okay. So in a minute, I want to talk a little bit more about the front court rotation, but I want to call out one player who I thought seemed very aggressive and very on top of things. And I want to know if this is going to be what we're going to see. I thought Summer League Jake showed up to preseason Jake. I thought he was covering a lot of ground. He was running around a lot. I don't know if he was running around a little bit too much. I remember at one point in the fourth quarter, he was like the only person guarding the perimeter. And I was like, is someone going to get out there and help Jake? Because it just looked like they were playing keep away from him. And he was the only person who was out there trying to defend the perimeter. What did you think of Jake Layman, especially since he got the start? And we might need to see him if Harkless is maybe having a hard time getting back.
You know, I was happy for Jake. I think his summer league performance and his aggressiveness is what got him, as well as we'll back this train up a little bit. The call out on media day from Neil O'Shea about Jake Layman. You want to talk about things out of left field? Maurice Harkless and Neil O'Shea going to bat for Jake Layman. Like, those are two things.
That didn't surprise me. That didn't surprise me at all because it's year 3, and that's always year 3. That's always when, Neil's guys get their play if something hasn't happened that, has brought them on before. That didn't surprise me at all.
To be so vocal about it, I think was a little bit surprising. But to Jake's credit, now he didn't shoot the ball well in the preseason game, 2 of 10. But he was damn aggressive. There was one drive where he took a baseline. And I'm screaming at him. He had the ball isolated on the wing, and he gave it up. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was CJ who gave it back to him. Like, no, you have the mismatch. Take him. And once he got the ball back, he's like, yeah, I'm taking him. And he took him baseline. Ibaka rotated, and really he cheated his freaking brains out. He was at the free throw line extended with his back turned to Nurkic. It's the kind of thing where, in the future, if that ever happens, I hope Nurkic back cuts or something because, it was not good. But
pulls the chair out from under him.
Yeah, Layman was aggressive in that particular play and throughout the night on both ends. He got rejected just horribly at the rim by Ibaka, and it was a beautiful block. But it's the mentality. I mean, that's the things we're hoping to see from him. He was taking the right shots, and clearly he felt comfortable.
Do you remember that play, though? It was like, I think maybe the beginning of the fourth, where he was like literally the only person who was chasing people around on the perimeter. I don't know where everybody, they were all like under the basket, or maybe somebody was like maybe in the corner. And it just looked like they were playing keep away. I felt so bad. I was like, somebody go help Jake. But, I mean, are they going to be using him? I mean, is that going to be his expected defensive, role?
That's how he's going to get on the floor. There's 2 ways for Jake Layman to get on the floor. Play defense and knock down threes.
He was switching like himself. Like, that's because there wasn't anybody to switch with. He was just like, okay, I'll switch onto this guy and onto this guy. There's nobody else to switch with, but I'm going to run around and cover everybody. It was
shout out preseason when you got 18 guys playing.
Somebody please go help Jake out. But anyway, he was long. He was running fast. He was getting down court really quickly, and some of the guys looked a little tired. He did not look as tired as some of the other guys did. I thought, how about Seth Curry? What did you think of his debut in the Blazer uniform?
So just kind of jumping off here, I talked about a couple points from Media Day playing out in the preseason, and this kind of goes to that point. Jake, Seth, Meyers, those guys – the Blazers talked about specifically, I think everybody in the team talked about it, them shooting more threes. Like, they are going to get more threes up. And they got 31 threes up. Good number. Shot 12 to 31.
2 from Nurkic. What's up with that?
He hit another one tonight at Fanfest. Nurkic is feeling himself from 3. So
God.
He was 0 for 7 from 3 last year. And you know what? I will say this. I don't know if it's true or not, but to my eye, Nurk looks lighter. I think part of that is the Blazers wanting him to be good for 30 minutes a night. And with that, stepping out, that kind of plays into the more modern NBA.
I mean, if he's going to be playing 30 minutes a night and running back and forth between, are you thinking that he's going to be Well, you think on offense he's going to be on 3, but not on defense. He's not going to be running out on the foot. Okay.
Not regularly.
Okay, I was like,
not regularly.
He's going to be so tired
I
of 30 minutes
it's
of that.
a real thing. But just adding a little thing to his game is a nice touch. But, I mean, you had guys last night who you had Layman getting up threes. I mean, Dame and CJ are going to get their threes up. If Nurkic is all of a sudden stepping out and giving you 1.5 a game, that's good. If Meyers is out there, and it looked like they may give him significant run with that second unit, maybe give him like 10, 12 minutes a night. And that is significant because he basically got no run last year. And, I mean, he ended up leading him in scoring, which doesn't matter, but confidence and doing the right things offensively does. And if the Blazers are going to shoot more threes and they need floor balancing, then getting Meyers Leonard out on the floor is going to help you. Nurkic is stretching the floor and taking a 3 or 2 a game, that's going to help you. If Aminu and Harkless and Stauskas and basically everyone not named Evan Turner is getting threes up, you're going to get your number up. And if they're knocking them down more consistently, hell yes. I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm at right now. Like if they're going to live by the 3, live by it. Like go in. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what they spent the offseason doing. That's who they signed, our 3-point shooters. Back to Seth Curry.
Seth.
How, again, like it was kind of fuzzy for me. So like I couldn't even figure out who he was for a while.
And then
I
figured out which like
number was his.
Telfair.
I was like, okay.
No, he's wearing 31. And if he throws on a freaking headband, I'm going to lose it because when he's moving around the floor, he looks like Telfair. It just drives me crazy. It's like, oh, God, every time I see him, I'm just going to think of Chris Paul now. But I thought Seth was okay. He was, in my mind, playing.
He hasn't played for a year.
Exactly.
So.
He was playing it down a gear. That's what it felt like to me. Like
he didn't want to go out there and leave it all out there on the court.
No, I mean, he played 12 minutes and he took 2 shots.
Yeah.
That's not. I think he had a assist. Like, I think he was just trying to work his way in, just see what it was like to be in a game, in a real competitive game, quote unquote real. Honestly, I think Seth's going to end up being a pretty big part of this team. I think they're going to start featuring him down the road this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if it takes him like a month of actual basketball for him to like really deliver. And that's
just shake the rust off.
Just kind of get in the groove of things. So I'm not. My thing is, this isn't a negative. This isn't like, oh, I don't think he's going to do anything. Mentally, I'm looking at it like, okay, I'm giving Seth a month, which sucks because the Blazers do need to get off to a good start.
They're supposed to get off to a great start.
Yeah. So, and that was emphasized. We want to talk about points of emphasis from Media Day. That's another one of them.
Yeah.
But personally, I'm looking at Seth like, okay, basically anything you give us for the first month of games is good. Like, but after that, you need to deliver. So that's kind of what I looked at the game, and maybe he finds it in the next couple games. Maybe he gets all of a sudden, kind of gets that.
Preseason is good for him.
Yeah, all of a sudden he just gets in that groove. Like, okay, we're good now. I know what speed to play at. I know how my body's going to react. I can trust my leg. All that stuff that comes with coming back from missing basketball for a year.
My thing that I'm watching with him is I think that he's going to, I think I said this last week, he's going to take on some of that Alan Crabb role. Because one of the things that the Blazers suffered in last year is like those catch and shoot, threes that
outside
they
CJ,
used to
he's their best catch and shoot shooter. Like just watching him tonight,
they could use another one, and that was what Crabb was supposed to be, and that is that's what Crabb did sometimes, not all the time. He wasn't quite as consistent, but like I see in my head, looking at all of the plays from Seth when he was in Dallas, when I saw the types of plays that he was running into, he was running straight into the positions that Alan Crabb used to run into, and he can get a shot off fast. He can get a shot off before he's even really stopped running, and if they can capitalize on that, that'll be a weapon that they haven't really had in a couple of years. And, with the drop off last year of their offense, I really think that was kind of part of it. Not that Alan Crabb was super consistent, but they consistently went to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely
I think
get what
Seth
you're saying.
could do that.
I think he'd be a better version of that because he can handle the ball better and he can create off the bounce much better than Crabbe has ever demonstrated. But as far as like spot up opportunities, hell yes.
Yeah, I mean he does, like, he had a number where he, like I said, like he hadn't even stopped running, and he was able to like get those off. I mean, he's a nice shooter. So
yeah, no, watching the Fanfest
I hope you're
tonight,
right that he gets. Oh yeah, how did he look at Fanfest?
he was chucking from 5 feet behind the line.
Yeah,
Like,
nice.
no hesitation, canning. And I was like, okay. Honestly, he was playing at a faster, more comfortable gear tonight than he was in the preseason game.
Oh,
So maybe it's just
well,
a matter of
amping
just,
it up.
you're just getting the rust off, getting back in the groove, getting comfortable. And that's something I think it gets lost sometimes is that when guys move to a new city, like you're sleeping in a different bed, eating at different
He's
places.
also a new dad.
Yeah, there's another one. And driving to the arena. Like, that's his first time
Getting your routine down. Yeah.
playing in front of folks, in Portland as a Blazer. That was, I mean, so maybe some of that comfort came tonight. So,
Yeah.
I'm not really, like, I'm not worried about him. I'm more positive going forward for him, and I think he can do some really, really nice things for the team.
Yeah.
But, again,
He's
like I said,
someone
I'm
I'm
giving him a
really-
month.
I'm really I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty high on him right now. So I'm hoping that he's off to a great start, just like everybody else. Okay, the thing that I'm really curious about is with the absence of Ed Davis. What do you think about how some of these front court rotations played out? And I mean, I know it's just one preseason game, so we don't know anything yet. But what are your thoughts and impressions on the rotations?
Something you pointed out that I was talking to a few people about during the game, somebody's going to have to rebound the damn ball at the second unit. Because this isn't shots at Meyers and Zach. They just aren't rebounders. They are space eaters and body grabbers.
I think that Zach rebounds a little bit, but I don't he didn't have to last year because that was what Ed did. And so if he is going to rebound this year, he has to get used to it. And one thing that I've been thinking about with this season is I thought that this season was going to be one of those seasons where everybody's crashing into each other under the basket all the time because they're all going for the rebounds. And then, like, 2 years ago, it would be like Noah Vonleh and Ed Davis, and everybody would just, like, crash into each other constantly. And then last year, when they had that really solid rotation of, Nurkic and Aminu, and then Ed and Zach, they weren't crashing into each other. And I was like, oh, no, this year we're going to go back to crashing into each other. And instead, like, nobody was going up for the rebounds. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it was a little strange, to say the least. Like,
that seems like something that they could work out pretty quickly.
I hope
Don't you think?
I hope it is. But
it's that Portland polite. No, you got it. No, you got it. No, you got it.
That's the thing is, that's not really the case in my opinion, because you and I have talked about this offline before. Like with rebounding, you either have it or you don't. Like think of a guy that in this in your history of watching the NBA, how many guys that weren't really necessarily rebounders all of a sudden became rebounders?
I don't know, but I don't think I agree with that. I don't know that you can't learn how to be a rebounder.
I think you can learn how to be better, but to be a rebounder, it's just a skill that you have. Look at the Ed Davises, the Kevin Loves of the world, the Zach Randolphs. Like it's an innate ability to just be able to be in the right position, box out accordingly, time your jump, and know where the ball's going to be. I mean, guys are just gifted at it or
how
not.
about Caleb Swanigan?
Swanigan reads the ball off the rim better than anybody on this team.
He's a great rebounder in college.
He's a great rebounder right now. Like he came in last night and was easily the best rebounder the Blazers had on the floor. Like in his time out there, it was like he was just hell. He came on the floor, I believe on a foul, and within 6 seconds he had a rebound. Like it was just like the guy knows. I mean, it's just something you know how to do. It's one of those skill sets that's from college, one of the most transferable and indicative skill sets there is. And so it's one of those things. I think it's either you do or you don't. And it's not a shot at guys like Meyers or Zach, because there's guys that eat up space like they do and find a body and box out literally every possession are good things to have. Like Robin Lopez has made a career out of it. He's only averages like 6.5, 7 rebounds a game, but his rebound rate for when he's on the floor for his team goes up because other guys can't get to the boards.
Yeah, they need to have like secondary rebound numbers, where you're boxing out, keeps somebody else from
Myers
getting a
and
rebound.
Zach would do great in that category. Steven Adams. Steven Adams boxes out for Russell Westbrook every damn possession. Mm-hmm. I mean, Steven Adams could be a 15 rebound a game guy, but he's like Lopez. He's like Leonard. He's like Collins.
Triple double.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's something to that. Seriously. But that's my concern as far as that unit rebounding. There are other concerns with that unit. Yeah, I like the rotation.
You mean the whole front court or a specific unit of the front court?
No, Zach and Meyers on the floor together. Like somebody.
Okay, we're talking about Zach and Meyers now.
Yeah,
okay,
somebody's got to find a way to rebound between those two. Like that's it's just. If you were going to ask me which of the two I was more comfortable with, I'd honestly say Meyers right now. Because Zach can't...
Well, I mean, if they're both boxing people out, then
Meyers holds his spot better. Like if Meyers boxes you out, you're probably not gonna get around him. Like he's
Can you imagine trying to push him over?
No. Greg Monroe tried it and he got thrown to the ground twice. I mean that's the reason I went with for the analysis article that I put up the other night. The picture is Meyers throwing Greg Monroe to the ground. I watched it happen live, and I was like, Greg thought Meyers was weak again. Greg, you don't learn. But, yeah,
okay.
Other than that, I like the way that they played off each other offensively.
Yeah.
I like the rotation. Speaking of the Blazers front court, I want to go back and talk about Nurk real quick, because Nurk wasn't out of this world good. But outside of fouling Ibaka on the three-point shot, I liked his decision-making. I liked what he was doing. He didn't go to any flip shots. He was under control in the post. He was taking the shots that he was going to take with confidence, no hesitation, stepping into them. He recognized there was a drop-step spin when I think it was Valanciunas was on him. But he played him soft in coverage, and Nurkic realized it, drop-step spun, under control, finished hard at the rim, and overall just looked good. And that's what I want to see from him. I think we're at the point where we're never going to get like throwback 1986 version of Yusuf Nurkic, where he's just going to beat the living hell out of everybody in the post. I wish it would happen, but I just don't think at this point we're going to get it. And you know what? If that's it, so be it. And let's have him be a gifted, athletic, talented big who finishes around the rim. So my next step is like, okay, let's see his post footwork and let's see him under control and making good decisions. And all those things last night were great. I'm about that. Like those were good, positive things that I saw from Yusuf Nurkic last night.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to my whole thing about like saying I don't like dunks. But I mean, we don't need Nurkic to be flashy. And I think like he came in thinking that he needed to be flashy and he needed to make a splash, and he kind of did those first 20 games that he was a Blazer.
He was a monster.
And I think he thought that was going to have to be his identity. And when it wasn't quite working for him last year, then that's when I think the maturity switch flipped in him, and he realized, okay, well, if I'm not going to be able to just, dominate on offense, I need to get back and play defense. I'll start with my defense again. And that was what I appreciated about him last year. And I think that's a maturity thing that we can expect to enjoy more from. Like, just like you were saying that you saw, he was doing the reasonable, he was making the right decisions, and, he was making them with confidence. He wasn't like thinking about like, oh, how could I make this look flashy? He was just thinking like, what do I need to do with this now in order to be successful? And then he took some threes. So we'll talk about that. We'll see how that goes.
Hey, you know what? Let the big man live. All right.
So another thing that I noticed with Zach and Meyers, which I appreciated, was a lot of pointing going on with the two of them.
You love your pointing.
Well, I love pointing because
you and Shane Brennan would have a good time watching a game.
Well, Eric pointed out to me that the reason he was like, what's going on when people are pointing is that they're communicating. Mm-hmm. And, that makes a lot of sense for when when Meyers and Zach are out on the floor together, because they haven't had a lot of run together and they really need to communicate. One of the things that Zach Collins is good at that I've noticed is that when getting back on defense, he's always the one who's like pointing and indicating to people like where he's going or where he expects them to be going. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of scary when you have a lot of continuity on a team, is that guys start thinking that they understand each other and they don't have to communicate so much. So it was nice to see that communication going on between Zach and Meyers. If they're going to be playing together a lot, it makes a lot of sense, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic point. Meyers is a guy who talks as well. That's kind of been a thing for a while. Well, I've been utterly positive for most things here. I got to kind of ratchet it down here. on Zach. It's one preseason game, so I'm not getting too excited about it. But the I've added bulk Zach Collins narrative is kind of that got shot out of a cannon last night.
Well, it's not like you weren't sitting there rubbing your hands together waiting for it.
No. I was.
Oh, you absolutely delight in this, Dan.
I do
yes,
not.
You do. Don't try to pretend. Because then
you know for certain that I don't.
Right.
You know for certain that I don't.
I know that you love to be right, and if you look at Zach Collins and think that he hasn't put on 20 pounds since the beginning of last year, you're just so excited about being right about it.
No, that's not about being right. It's about the idea that he's not quite big enough to play against the big boys down low. Now, will that stop the Blazers from playing Zach at center? Probably not. But I wouldn't expect to see him, because it looked like the Blazers not tried to hide him, because I don't think they would do that. But they made an obvious effort to keep him off of Valanciunas and Greg Monroe, because they're just two big grown men who would just beat him up down low. There were a couple possessions where Zach tried to body a couple guys, and it just didn't work out in his favor. I hope that as the season goes, my theory at this point in time is I think Zach's just a slow starter. Mm-hmm. Because last year's Summer League, and then by the end of the season, two totally different players. This year's Summer League, so I'm hoping that each year that slow start becomes a faster, if you know what I mean. So
they got to get off to a good start.
Exactly. And that's, again, this is like, and this thing flashing in the back of my head is like, are they going to figure this out? Are they going to be able to figure out the back end of this whole deal and put it together to get the good start that they need? The questions that, like, with Zach, he's still 20 years old. Like, he's a kid. He's 21. He's a kid. Like, it's going to take time. It's going to take 4 years before he's really who he's going to be in this league. But the Blazers need him to be who he's going to be in this league now. So that conflicts. You've got Seth, who I think he's going to be good, but I think it's going to take him a few weeks to kind of get the ball rolling. You've got the Blazers who are going to try to get the ball out of CJ McCollum's hand, which is strange to say out loud because that's where he's the best with it. But in order for everybody else to be good around it, you have to maybe go through some growing pains. So you start seeing all these things kind of pile up where there are big questions on, under the surface that can have huge impacts to how they get off to the start of the season. So while I hope that Collins is able to kind of figure out how to play bigger than he is right now, I don't think it's going to happen right away. While I hope Seth is going to figure out where he's going to be in the pecking order of the offense, I think it's going to take a couple weeks. But there are other ways where I think Collins, on a matchup basis, on a nightly basis, can be much more effective. So I think if you're looking for the silver lining, defensively, he's still going to be strong on that end as a weak side shot blocker. And I think that we will see possibly a different look and maybe see him be more effective on both ends of the floor if the Blazers get Harkless back sooner rather than later, and you see them go with like a small lineup of Dame, CJ, Harkless, Aminu, Collins, or moving Harkless up to the 4 and Collins up to the 5, and really just running the living daylights out of the offense. Then I think you may see Collins, out of just sheer need, develop into that bigger guy. Because I think he has the ability to get there. I just don't think he has the body to get there yet. And maybe just sheer willpower alone will be enough for him to kind of figure it out as the season goes.
Well, at least he's 7 feet tall, right?
He has that going for him, exactly.
He's
and
always
he
going
has
to be
the
7
frame.
feet tall. Let me ask you about this. One of the things that I heard a couple of times over the summer was blog boys, for lack of a better word, talking about how during the regular season, big centers who drop, and then as soon as the playoff starts, everybody switches everything. So maybe in order for the Blazers to have a more successful playoff, I mean, obviously they have to get to the playoffs, but also they need to prepare for the playoffs more. So do you think maybe it's possible during the regular season we're going to see more of those small switchy lineups than we did last year?
Yeah, they're going to. They're going to switch.
I mean, that's kind of what their reasoning was of letting Ed Davis go, right?
Yep, that's part of it. And not just defensively, but offensively. They want to make teams switch. So
they're going to force the switch in addition to actually switching.
Having Meyers on the floor. I mean, listen, you can say what you want to about the guy. He's still 7'1", and he can still shoot the living hell out of the ball. Like, if he's confident and aggressive and lets the ball fly. And there's something I noticed. It was both in Fanfest and the preseason game. And again, I know this is all preseason stuff, but these are things that just kind of pop into my head as I'm watching the game. They're sinking Meyers Leonard into the corner. He normally shoots above the break threes.
Yeah.
But putting him in the corner, which is where the Blazers have been weak. Think about who's been in the corner the last 2 years. Al-Farouq Aminu, Maurice Harkless, Evan Turner. They aren't consistent shooters. If Meyers can be a consistent shooter in that corner, you cannot help from those corners. Those short corners now become lethal again. Because Alan Crabb made his money, made that contract for the Brooklyn Nets by canning corner threes. And if Meyers can be that guy where Evan Turner's on the same, with the ball side right there with him, you can't cheat to help on the drive.
And it also keeps him just that much closer to the basket as well, like a little bit less distance to have to cover between even when he's on offense, between the corner 3 and under the basket, as opposed to when he's being
if you
way
want
up
him
there
offensive rebounding, yes.
Yeah, that's really, I'm gonna take note of that. Meyers doing the corner 3 now and finding out like what his historical numbers are, because I remember he was really good from one place, but not so much the other. And I feel like they had him taking shots from the place that he wasn't as good. And I wonder, now I can't remember which one it was. We'll have to look it up.
Over the last couple of years, Meyers has shot decently well from the corner, but most of his attempts have come above the break and out of the pick and roll or pick and pop.
Yeah, but what about his field goal percentage? In which place is it better?
Above the break, because there's one corner that was better than the other, but the sample size is so small that it doesn't really matter. That's the thing. Like, so if Meyers can be like, that's the one place that you want to be good for the 3-point line. It's the shortest. It's the easiest to kind of find.
You want to be good at all the places on the 3-point line.
Yes, you do. But you want to be lethal from the corners.
Okay.
It's just by the virtue of floor spacing and value from it is the most valuable shot in the game.
Right.
So you want to be lethal from that spot because of what it means both mathematically, analytically, and what it means to floor balance and spacing. Because if you can't help from that corner, or the option is help from this corner or get killed, then what that does for your offense is it's not something that's immeasurable. It's something that's actually very measurable, which is probably why the Blazers are opting to do this. Because I haven't seen him. Not only is he sinking into the corner, he's getting the ball and shooting from the corner. Did you see the play last night? I highlighted it in the breakdown where Stauskas drove the right side and curled and kind of threw a Ginobili wrap pass to Meyers in the corner for the N1-3.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about the one where Meyers was driving and then he kicked it out to Stauskas.
That was the one shot where I was actually mad at Meyers, where he should have taken the shot before putting the ball on the floor and going to the rim. But he still made a good choice out of that possession. But going back to the corner, that play doesn't happen if Meyers isn't sunk into the corner. Like, that wasn't just like Meyers just kind of floating down to the corner. Like, that was an action designed to have Meyers already down there to open up the floor. Because now, with
Meyers,
him in that
you
corner...
run there and get ready to catch it and take the shot.
Well, I don't think the play was designed necessarily that way, but the setup, the play was designed that way. So that when Stauskas drove the right side, I believe it was Valanciunas that was on the floor. Valanciunas can't get from Meyers, even if he's playing the short corner on the other side of the paint, he can't get all the way over across the paint in time to help on Stauskas and recover on Meyers. And with that in mind, Stauskas turns the corner, help comes, wrap pass, Meyers is wide open, rotations late, and 1-3. Like, that's really, really, really good stuff, and just subtle wrinkles that throughout the season could be beneficial. Now, I don't know if that was part of the set. Like, I have to go back and watch that play over and over again and then watch it kind of mature through the season. But there was something I was talking to the guys about tonight in Media Row was that Meyers was sinking more into the corner. And everybody just kind of looked at me like, you know what, you're right. Like, I hadn't really noticed it. So I don't think it's something that's huge, but I think it's something that could pay dividends, and not necessarily in the counting stats for Meyers Leonard, but just by virtue of spacing on the floor for everybody else.
I want to ask something about Meyers. You were at Fanfest tonight, right?
Oh boy.
How was the reception for him? Because he had it
almost entirely positive.
Of class. Okay.
So
good.
On that
everybody
note,
showed out.
So Meyers won the MVP tonight at Fanfest, which, joke all you want, but
that means people were voting for him.
People were voting for him, on the cell phone, on the app.
Fan, right.
It's a fan vote. So that was good to see. He had an interview with Brooke Olzendam at half court after he accepted his award. And let me scroll back over here because I had to tweet about it because it was ridiculous. Brooke asked him, how he did it, and he looked at Brooke and said, "Flame balls, baby." Woo!
Whoa! I thought that was autocorrect. I thought you accidentally typed so he actually said
my
that.
phone was on another level tonight. I had so many damn autocorrects tonight. Like I was like, I can't. I don't know if it was the wireless in Moda or no. That one was spot on. Like Brooke replied on Twitter and said she lost complete control because Meyers had a really nice night knocking down shots, and that's the thing is like Meyers can shoot the ball, but I can't not mention this. Meyers went for a under the rim like 180 tomahawk dunk, and he hit it off the back iron. Everybody just kind of put their face in their palm, like, "Oh, come on, you're winning everybody back. Don't do that." Yeah. But
that's why I hate dunks.
Perfect. But overall tonight, the feedback from the fans towards Meyers was mostly positive, and much more affirming than it's been in the past. So that was actually something that I thought was really cool tonight.
Good. The two quickly, the rookies. Aside from how they danced, what were your thoughts on how they played in the preseason game and how they looked at Fanfest?
Okay, so I can't go, regardless of how they danced because Gary Trent Jr. got down and he was feeling himself. So, which kind of translates to how he plays basketball. Gary Trent Jr. does not suffer from a lack of confidence.
I saw him from the back and it didn't look very good, but then I watched it from a different angle and I was like, oh yeah, because he looks way better. Like they were like filming him like down below.
You gotta hit those angles.
Looking up, he looks really good. Yeah, just like the general camera from up and behind, he didn't look good. But anyway, his play. Let's talk about that.
Both last night and tonight, Gary Trent Jr. is not short of confidence. He will let it fly. I heard a couple guys talking about him outside of Dame and CJ. Trent's probably the best player on the team as far as getting his own shot. He can get it from multiple levels. Now, that doesn't mean it's going in, but he can get to his spots. He has the ability to, from a full sprint, come to a complete stop and elevate straight up. Now, for anybody who doesn't understand quite how difficult this is, go out, play some basketball, blow your ACL up by trying to come to a complete stop off one step and elevating straight up in the air and getting a good clean jumper off. Because it's not easy.
Well, that's what they say is so good. Why Harden is so good is because of his deceleration, not his acceleration.
Yeah, the ability to stop on a dime and get your defender to overcommit. Gary Trent Jr. can do that. He may have the best stop on this team right now, and
that's good.
It's really nice.
It'll be even better when it goes in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's letting it fly from all levels. I said it during the preseason game last night, and you know me, I'm not really one for takes. But
what?
Oh, come on!
You're not one for takes.
I do not have hot takes. I do not have hot takes.
Okay, we're gonna put that one aside for a minute.
Okay, is that a hot take by itself? Okay. But my hottest take
let you finish.
Is that Anthony Simons has it, and watching him last night and again tonight, that young man. And I'm not claiming he's going to be an all-star. That's not what I'm saying here. But there's something about him that he makes things look very easy. And he can get his shot damn near any time he wants to. And it's really impressive because he does it and he makes it look effortless.
Well, you just said that Gary Trent Jr. was really good at that also. So how are they? Are they different?
Gary Trent
are they
Jr.
both the same?
No, Gary Trent Jr. does it coming off screens, getting to certain spots in a kind of a.
Oh, he gets open for shots.
Yes.
Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Okay.
Anthony Simons creates his own shot off the bounce.
Got it.
Like
Got it.
He just has this inherent ability with a little in and out dribble, a hesitation dribble. It's not like he has like the craziest handles. It's just his handle and the way he moves allows him to create separation, to get his shot off basically whenever he wants to. And he does it confidently.
He reminds me a little bit of CJ.
He does have that kind of loose wiggle to him. I think CJ's more about having rhythm timing in his dribble and then changing it up. And this is sacrilege because this is a place I don't go to very often. Simons reminds me more of Brandon, of Roy, in that he gets you on his rhythm and then he changes it up. Does that make sense? Like he kind of lulls you to sleep a little bit, and then it's not the most explosive
sense, but that sounds
thing.
like CJ to me also.
CJ it's not the most explosive, and I don't think that, but he'll hit you with a hard change of pace, not necessarily get you on a rhythm and lull you to sleep. Like the way Simons does it, there's something about it that's just smooth and effortless. When you see CJ do it, you can see CJ kind of like, much like Jamal Crawford, winding you up and getting ready to cook you. With Simons, it just happens.
Lulling you to sleep.
Yeah, you all of a sudden you're just like, what the hell? How did he get open? And
and how did he get up at the rim?
Yeah, and
fast.
And he's got a nice little floater too. He's got a really nice in between game. So maybe, having CJ be his big, as a rookie is probably a good thing. I mean, because CJ's got
a really nice combination.
Because CJ's got a great in between game. If he can take that from him, if he can bring that to his game, because Simons is a blank canvas right now. Like he's got some skill, there's no doubt about that. But outside of his ability to create that space and knock down a in between shot, I don't know what else he really has. Like how tight is his handle? How is his ability to go right? How is it to go left? How is he coming off screens? How is he working off ball? I will say that he did work in the pick and roll a little bit last night against the Raptors. I believe it was Nurkic. He had Kawhi Leonard isolated on the perimeter, and Nurkic brought the pick, and he took the pick, drove hard to the right, elevated at the 15-foot line, and let it go. Like, for a 19-year-old rookie to go at Kawhi Leonard, whether it was in the ISO or the pick and roll, that's a nice little swagger.
Pretty gutsy.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is real interesting about Simons that I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out this year is that none of the other teams know what to do with him either.
Nobody knows
they
what to do with
haven't
him.
seen anything. They don't like Portland has big advantage over everybody because now, like, at least they know how he plays. But like, who else? Like, how are they gonna scout him? Because if he does get in the game, like, they probably haven't looked at him at all. Nobody can call up the college tape. It's just going to be like, I don't know.
And here's the thing about him, though, is
he could be a secret weapon.
Save injuries or garbage time, hell, even garbage time. Simons is the odd man out as far as like dressing for games. My belief is that it's still up in the air. Who's that 14th guy is? Who's 13? Who's 14? Stauskas looks like he wants to get on the floor. Like he was looking really. That's the thing.
He got on pretty quick too.
Yeah, and that was the thing. He got on the floor much quicker than I thought. The other part of that is, and I think this is kind of the takeaway point again from the Blazers, both media day and preseason, is that they were aggressive, and Stauskas was aggressive. He tried to get after it defensively. He still struggles kind of with foot speed on that end, but offensively, he took it off the bounce, came off screens, didn't hesitate on his threes. Like, he looks like he really wants to get minutes. So I think it's still between him and Gary Trent Jr. and knowing Stotts and what his history is, he'll probably opt to go with Stauskas to dress over Gary Trent Jr. I thought it would be the other way around because I thought Trent Jr. might impress enough in camp. And there's still a chance for that to happen. But I think the way he's playing, the aggressiveness that he's showing, the tenacity that he's trying to get after with, so far, and Stotts' history with, veteran versus rookie, I think Stauskas has got the edge. But it was nice to see Stauskas, try to get out there in the early running and make something happen.
Yeah. Well, Dan, you sound awfully positive, and I know you tried to,
ratchet
temper
it down
and bring it down a little bit, but it's.
I'm just happy basketball's back.
I think it's totally okay right now that we are excited, that you're excited, and that we're all looking forward to seeing what this year is going to bring because, you just don't know. We just got to appreciate it while we have it, especially when you watch. We've already got some injuries this year, and it's just like, oh my gosh, we have to just take it as it comes. I mean, injuries to other teams. Who went out? Was it
Ja was missing from New Orleans.
Went out tonight with a boot on, and it's just like, we have to appreciate every little bit and hope that
Lowry, Markkanen's out for the first 2 months.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's already been which sucks because I actually was looking forward to watching that team. A healthy Levine, Lowry, and Wendell Carter was going to be, if nothing else, on League Pass is going to be fun.
Well, I'm glad somebody is looking forward to Chicago.
I don't think Chicago's looking forward to Chicago at this point, but no. So it
I have
fun.
one little thing to report. My dream of the Gary and Gary podcast is we're one tiny inch closer because I tweeted about it, and one of the Garys, I think it was Gary Payton, liked my tweet. So
there you go.
We're getting there. The Gary and Gary podcast is going to happen. I swear to God, this needs to happen. Gary Payton and Gary Trent Sr. talking about basketball would just be the most glorious thing. So that is my my non-preseason update. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about? We should probably go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up because I've been rambling for, an hour now. That's more than usual. So, yeah, I am hyped about basketball. Got a little surprise coming. I don't know if it's a good surprise, bad surprise, but it's a surprise. It's coming. The first home preseason game for the Blazers. So hopefully I'll be able to talk about that here next week. So that's something to look forward to, something cool and fun. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just ramping up for the season and making my primetime debut.
Oh boy. Oh boy, God save us all.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna get humbled real quick when everybody's like, "Who is this idiot on my TV screen?" So
we need to in the next couple of weeks. We need to get some preseason. What do you call it? God, I'm totally blanking. Obviously, I've been talking for way too long. Also, we need to preview the other teams.
Yes,
that the Blazers
and we will have some folks on, some guest contributors alongside us to discuss various divisions and competition in the West. So we can learn
about the competition as they're coming. That doesn't for all I had to cover.
That's all I got.
All right.
I'm talked out. I'm done.
Okay. You can find
okay?
me at TCB-Biggs on Twitter. You can also email us at, what is our email address? I haven't said it in a few weeks because I keep forgetting. It's blazersedgepod@gmail.com. So go ahead and email us with your questions about what's coming up this season. Oh, I also got to give a shout out to Burlicious M. Shoot, I can't remember. He's somebody who listens to the podcast, and he was sitting in front of me at the Thorns game, and he turned around and he was like, "Hey, are you on a podcast?" And I could not believe that I was talking so much at the Thorns game that he recognized my voice. But anyway, it was super great to sit, and we actually watched the Thorns and talked about the Blazers. It was heaven. So shout out to him for saying hi. I appreciated that. So go ahead and take us out of here, Dan.
All right, folks, you can find me on Twitter, on social media, Instagram, everybody else, for whatever you want, I guess. At Dean Marang, at DMARANG. Also on Blazers Outsiders every game night. Pre-game, hour before. Post-game, half hour to 45 minutes afterwards on NBC Sports Northwest with Shane Brennan and Joe Simons. I think that's it for now. So thank you, Tara. Thank you, everybody listening. We'll catch you guys next week. We'll have some more game action to talk about. See you then.
Woohoo! Oh, so excited.
Woohoo!